anywhere near the great facility that this is. This changes the whole landscape, and it's really a wonderful facility. And if you have a question, please tell us what it is so that we can address it.
It's not a specific question. I mean, I guess I could play devil's advocate. To your point, you say almost as much. $10 million difference is a lot of money. I understand there's upkeep involved in buildings. I'm relatively new to North Reading. I moved here 3.5 years ago, going on my 4th year. I didn't come and look at the physical attributes of the schools. I did my research. I saw that it was rated as one of the top school systems. It had nothing to do with what the high school looked like on the outside. My wife is an educator, has been an educator for more than a decade. She's a teacher in an elementary school. I came from a community that built brand new schools. The brand new schools still had roof leaks 3 or 4 years after they were built. Still had poor restrooms after they were built. You know, I look at spending money, and you know, I work hard for my money. Everybody in this room works hard for their money. But when it comes at the end of the day, you know, and I have to decide, well, am I going to have enough money to buy my son new clothes? Am I going to have enough money for, you know, to buy food, to pay my car insurance? You know, those are the decisions people are making nowadays. It's a bad economy. You know, so when people get up and say, well, it's not a lot more money, it kind of is a lot more money. And I think one thing I would like to see is where are the alternatives? The other gentleman's point earlier, well, where is the plan that shows if this doesn't get approved, this is what we're expected to pay in taxes just for upkeep, because we have to improve facilities in the old building. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see, you know, alternatives. Is there a scaled down version of this plan? You know, that we could get through, you know, maybe we can't vote on the full project, you know, I don't know. You presented one plan, it's a great plan. I think the shared facilities, one of the main things I came here looking at. The school my wife teaches in, they have shared cafeteria facilities. Well, guess what? My wife's classroom has to eat lunch at 10:20 in the morning because they didn't figure out that, well, you have this many kids, there's only one cafeteria. I wouldn't go for that as a parent. I'm glad that they thought of that for this plan, that we have separate eating facilities. I mean, is there any alternative plan? This is it? Take it or leave it kind of a deal?
Well, we never want to phrase it as take it or leave it, but the plan that you see here is the product of thousands of hours of work and preparation, not only by the secondary school building committee, but by the school committee, by the school administration, with our architects and in collaboration with the secondary school building committee, to address our needs. And that's what we did. We looked at what we needed to do. At first, you know, we presented several options, and we looked at all those options, and we went to the MSBA with those options. And every time that we presented, well, do we build a new high school? Do we build a new middle school? And the bottom line was we needed both. There was no getting around it. If we addressed the high school, we were going to be neglecting the middle school. We felt that the efficiencies that we would gain by building a core facility made a lot of sense in the economy that you speak about. So now that we build a brand new core facility that can service both schools and do it effectively and efficiently and safely, made a lot of sense to us. So in the end, we felt that we needed to deal with the big picture, the whole picture, and that's why we have the plan that we have today. You raise a lot of good points. I mean, I went back to that, you can't tell a book by its cover. A lot of people do what you do. They evaluate our school system, and it's a compliment to us by things other than the actual physical buildings. Bottom line is, these buildings need to be addressed.
And I'm not saying that the people that work in the buildings don't deserve that, and the children that go to school in the buildings don't deserve that. I'm a firm believer it's the educator, not the facility. I don't care what anybody says. You put a horrible teacher in a brand new building, the kids aren't going to learn.
There's no question, as far as a priority, that's absolutely the priority. But you have to look at everything. You can't neglect the facilities
of course. But once again, I'm also the type of person, I don't spend money I don't have. So.
And that's wise.
Yeah, I mean,
but thank you for those comments. I mean, you raised some very, very good points. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So the shared gym, right now, I don't know the setup, I apologize, but so the school is gonna be able to accommodate more children, like, as the years go on, like, there's room for expansion, but then the gym only seems to accommodate one team playing at a time
No.
for like a competition. I didn't quite understand that portion of it, because I saw how the gym actually splits, but is that like they would practice on two separate?
Yes, yes. The way that facility is going to be set up is that it's going to be divided so that you can have two different teams practicing at the same time. You could have two different teams playing at the same time. When we talk about the competition court or the competition facility, that would be for primarily, to be honest with you, high school basketball games, boys games, girls games, generally on a Friday night or a Tuesday night. And at that point, the entire facility would be dedicated to that particular game, because you'd have the bleachers, you'd have the cheerleaders, and you'd have the full competition court. But other than that, for practices, for youth sports, for gym classes and things like that, that facility can be divided in half. It can be divided into quarters, and you also have the additional space that we showed you there for things like wrestling and dance and things like that.
Does the middle school have games there or not?
The middle school, no, the middle school has intramurals, and they would obviously be able to use that facility for intramurals. Right now, they primarily have intramural floor hockey and basketball, but both of those could be used in that gym facility. And quite frankly, this has come up a lot, but we do plan to try to accommodate the youth groups as much as possible. High school teams now, the boys and girls basketball teams, have to stagger their practice because there's only one full-size court at the high school. Now they may be able to practice at the same time because they have the ability to divide the gymnasium in half. Somebody else want to respond? Yeah. Oh, okay. And again, that's a picture of the deck. This is going to be a beautiful facility. I mean, the gym we have right now at the high school, we've sanded that floor down to the point where if we sand it one more time, somebody's going to fall through it. I mean, it's really at that point. That floor may need to be replaced. The facilities over there, I don't know if you've looked at them over at the high school, with the locker room facilities, and there's no weightlifting, there's no training facilities, there's nothing. I mean, it's a disaster, to be honest with you. And it's only through the great maintenance and from our custodial staff that part of the building looks as good as it does, but that is a very inadequate facility. And the middle school gym is a rubberized floor, it serves its purpose, but this is going to be a very nice facility.
I wasn't down in the idea. I was just wondering, like, down the road, is that going to be enough for the two schools as the?
I would answer yes. Yes, Ed.
Ed McGrath, 8 Laurel Road. The gentleman, I didn't catch your name, but brought up two points that I wanted to address. I think the committee needs to address too in educating the public about this. He's only been here 3.5 years. I have a son, a sophomore in college, and when he arrived at the middle school, the modulars were already there. And I recall that the lifespan of those modulars wasn't more than 10 or so years to begin with. So I think something with what's going to be happening with if this project doesn't get approved, that the modulars are going to have to be replaced.
Come by on a rainy day.
Well, I know, that's my point exactly. Yeah, and speaking of the rainy day, I think the other thing, being new to the town, people aren't familiar with one of the key people behind the scenes, and that's Wayne Hardacre. And, you know, what his crew and what he does to keep these schools up and keep these buildings running. I think we have one of the better superintendent buildings in the state, and the fact that he'd be in charge of this new building is reassuring.
Let me say this about Wayne. When the MSBA came in to look at the facilities, the middle school and the high school, part of the formula for the reimbursement, we talked to you about the 51.49%. We got, I believe, the highest percent. I think it was 1.7 points of that 51.49% was awarded to us for reimbursement purposes because of the great condition and maintenance of these buildings. And Wayne and his staff were responsible for that, but I think that was one of the highest reimbursements that were ever given out for maintenance of the buildings, for the existing maintenance of the buildings. And I think what that does is shows confidence that we are going to maintain the new buildings. And if you go over to the Batchelor, and I'm extremely proud of that building, but if you go over there, you're going to see that. That building's been open for 6 years. It looks like it opened yesterday. It really does. In the systems over there, the heating, the electric, and everything is controlled from Wayne's house. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievably efficient. We've had no problems over there. and we're going to commit ourselves to do the very same thing with this project. Yes?
Yeah, Mark Sanborn, 4 Canterbury Lane. This is for Superintendent Willis. On the numbers for kids coming out of the middle school that go to the high school, I noticed that through 3 grades, it's like 600 and something kids, and then through 4 grades in the high school, it's only 700. Do you see with projects like this, that new schools, the retention of the students versus going to private school, does that change at all? Those numbers that you put up, do they stay the same? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. That's a great question. And actually, that's a question that we brought up to the MSBA as we were going through the design enrollment process. That is taken into consideration as they perform their formulas and calculations to determine what the design enrollment will be. Both Principal Bernard and I were arguing that point vigorously because we are very familiar with the percent of students that choose to leave the district between 8th and 9th grade and between 5th and 6th grade. And we anticipate that some of those students will come back. But the MSBA shared with us that that's part of their formula, and they said that actually after about 3 or 4 years of the project being online, the whole enrollment levels out. But that has been taken into consideration and incorporated into the design enrollment that has been shared with you this evening.
Anybody else? Make it quick.
Yeah, just as a final point to my message with regard to the one chance and to address the point that I think we'll be hearing a lot, which is it's expensive, there's no doubt. There's no denying, no one's trying to be insensitive that this is a lot of money to ask people to pay. On the other hand, this is our shot. This is our chance. We're probably going to have to spend a lot of money anyway. And this is our shot to get something that makes so much programmatic sense. I won't repeat that. But however, ask someone, when's a good chance, when's a good time to increase your taxes 10%? Never. No one ever wants to increase their taxes by 10%. But this could be the best shot for a lot of other reasons. And that is, we've got, as the selectmen mentioned, as the finance committee has mentioned, they are structuring the financing here to take advantage of unbelievably low interest rates. That savings alone is in the many, many tens of millions of dollars. I mean, I just heard it again on my way to this meeting tonight, was that 30-year mortgage rates went down again to unbelievable lows. They were unbelievable already. We've probably got the opportunity, hopefully, to be talking about contingencies and so forth. Hopefully the bidding will be extremely competitive, and this might be our best shot to get maybe even below this cost, perhaps. I mean, you know, Dan mentioning earlier, people in the construction trades, building projects like this are coming in very competitively in terms of building. So this could be a great opportunity, even though it's expensive, to make it as least expensive that we ever could make it. And so that's why we think that this is our really big shot here. And as Brad mentioned before, as the map indicated with all the stars on it, every week goes by, you read another story in the paper about another town that passed this, and there's many more down the line. There's hundreds, you know, many, many dozens to hundreds of projects that are pretty much getting in queue. And if we decide not to do this and spend the money instead on fix-ups and Band-Aids and not increase the size and scope of our classrooms, then I think we're making a big error.
Thanks, Jeff. Again, I want to thank our panel tonight for sitting up here and answering all the questions. I want to thank the audience. We have another question. I was just going to say that all of you came out tonight. It's the first night of American Idol. But I'm sure our ratings will be as high or higher than the Idol. Go ahead.
Lita Jenny, 6 Shore Road. Does the new plan, will it be encompassing stormwater management practices that will alleviate flooding concerns and protect the septic system?
I'm going to say yes, but I'll turn that over to Brad. Yeah, I think all that's been taken into consideration. Again, this is very carefully planned out, very closely monitored by the MSBA. So yes, all that will be addressed. Are you in a butter or?
No, but I'm involved with stormwater management projects that Marks Pond Association's been involved with.
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah, it is. It's something that the civil engineers taken into consideration. We're actually going to be reducing the overall impervious material footprint on the site, and then we'll be instituting best management practices in terms of infiltration for stormwater.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Brad's the architect.
Brad?